The number of cases of lung disease possibly being linked to vaping keeps growing. Utah's health department said today that it is now investigating more than 21 cases, more than 4 times the number that were reported as of last week. This comes days after health officials in Illinois said that a person who had recently vaped and was hospitalized with severe respiratory illness had died. The Centers for Disease Control said last week that at least 193 potential cases of lung disease linked to vaping were reported by 22 states between June 28th and August 20th. This comes as North Carolina's top prosecutor is expanding his efforts to stop e-cigarette companies from marketing to teenagers. Attorney General Josh Stein announced today that he will file lawsuits against 8 e-cigarette companies. The suits allege that the companies are aggressively targeting children and do not require appropriate age verification. Earlier this year, Stein became the first state attorney general to sue e-cigarette giant Juul, accusing the company of designing, marketing, and selling e-cigarettes to attract young people. He also accused Juul of misrepresenting the potency and danger of the nicotine in its products. Juul has previously said it's concerned about youth vaping and is working to reduce it. Josh Stein joins me now. He's the Attorney General of North Carolina. Attorney General, good to see you again. Let's just talk about this for a second. I feel like people of a certain age, i.e. mine, remember that cigarette companies got into a lot of trouble and had to pay a lot of money specifically for marketing cigarettes to children, because we understood that if you target children, you got customers for a long time, and that they're more than an adult body is to these damages. Does none of that come to play with e-cigarettes? Is it just the law just doesn't sort of govern that, or it didn't evolve to understand that this was going to be a thing?
Well, the settlement that was reached back in 1998 between the states and the major tobacco companies was called the Master Settlement Agreement.
Right.
And it dealt with the traditional tobacco cigarettes. And so there are limitations on marketing to kids. There are limitations on sales. And unfortunately, those rules do not automatically apply to vaping. And I think that the companies are trying to exploit this kind of gray area and be in the wild, wild west and try to addict another generation of teenagers, and that's absolutely unacceptable to me.
So it's very, I mean, psychologically, all the work the cigarette companies did made it really clear to us how easy it is to addict kids to things. E-cigarette use by high school students, according to the U.S. Surgeon General, jumped from 11.7% in 2017 to 20.8% in 2018. That's in 1 year. So if you look at that kind of a jump, you can sort of see where this is going. What, in your mind, are the similarities here to how the cigarette companies dealt with kids and how these e-cigarette companies are dealing with kids?
Well, it's an epidemic right now. The Surgeon General has said that. The FDA Commissioner has said that. In North Carolina this week, Ali, it's back to school week. And parents should be worrying about what kids their classes are taking, what classes their kids are taking, and they shouldn't be worried about the health risks that they're going to be exposed to by all the vaping that goes on in middle schools and high schools across the state. So what is similar is they use cartoons, they use flavors that appeal to kids. We know that flavoring is the #1 reason why kids vape. And so there are flavors like French toast, bubble gum, cinnamon, anything that would appeal to a kid. And they package it in a way that children, it looks like a juice box sometimes, even with a straw in it. And then they market it on networks where children are, Snapchat and Instagram. There was one ad from Eon Smokes, one of the 8 companies I sued today, in which the ad is of their device, and it looks like a USB port. It's similar to Juul in that regard. And it says, "Mom, no, it's a USB port." So they are absolutely signaling to children, this is what you should be doing, and appealing to the subversive nature of teenagers, which is how kids are. And it's inexcusable, and that's why I want to put a stop to it.
Attorney General, we'll stay on top of this with you. Thank you for joining me again. Josh Stein is the Attorney General of North Carolina.